Vermont, and also Congressman Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. Gentlemen, great to have both of you with us tonight. I love the president's focus tonight. Senator, you first. You talk about it all the time, and of course, Congress and you have just put out a proposal on what to do to raise the middle class and opportunity for all. What can the president accomplish tonight, Senator?
Well, what he can accomplish is making the very important point that despite huge Republican obstructionism, the economy today is much, much better than it was 6 years ago. But, Ed, what he has also got to make clear is that it is nowhere near where we need to be. Real unemployment, 11%. Highest rate of childhood poverty in the industrialized world. Huge gap between the very rich and everybody else. And what he has got to do is present a program to create millions of jobs, to deal with income and wealth inequality, and let the Republicans say no. Let them go back to their usual formula of more tax breaks for billionaires, cutting Social Security and Medicare, and let the people decide.
Senator, what's your response to no one from leadership responding to the president tonight? And I think it's important because they now have both chambers. This is their legislative opportunity.
I think what the tactic is to trivialize what the president is saying. It is so trivial, it is so unimportant that we're not even bringing forward our leadership to respond.
Chris Van Hollen, your proposal and what you've laid out last week is going to parallel what the president's going to talk about tonight. Crucial to the middle class. What's the message here tonight, you think?
Well, the message is twofold. First, as Bernie indicated, it is important to recognize that the December jobs report did have lots of good news in it in terms of the recovery. And I should say that not a single Republican in the House voted to help make that recovery possible. It also had this wage issue, these flat wages, frozen paychecks. That's where the president's focused, because we need an economy that works for all Americans, and we need to incentivize higher paychecks, and we also need to make sure that folks in the middle who are being squeezed are able to keep a little bit more of their paychecks, and that's where the president's headed.
It's well documented what the senator from Iowa did in her campaign, and the way she badmouthed the president, said she was against him on every issue, tweeted that out at one time. What's your reaction to the Republicans putting Joni Ernst up to respond to the president? It's almost like they're not serious about wanting to work with the president again.
Well, that's the signal it sends, because ever since the election, the Republican leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, has said he wants to find practical, common sense steps that he can take to work with the president. What he is saying tonight, by picking this particular person to respond, is he was just kidding. He didn't mean it, because as we talked about, her whole campaign was run on simply trying to roll back the progress that we've made over the last 4 years. So what it says to me is Senator McConnell really wasn't serious when he said he wanted to work together. If he was serious, he would have, maybe put himself forward as the Republican leader. Don't we want to hear what the Republicans stand for? Is this the person who expresses what Republicans stand for? I don't know.
Senator, the White House is saying today that they feel like they're out of the crisis zone for the economy, that this is in sorts, and these are my words, not theirs, that it is going to be somewhat of a victory lap because the Republicans have had no hand in this recovery whatsoever. Absolutely. 58 months of private sector job growth is nothing to shake your head at. You got 10 million jobs. You got the recovery of the automobile industry. But the next level, is it important for the Republicans to engage for the next 2 years in the economy if we're going to continue this growth?
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. So we're beginning to see a few signs of that. For example, everybody in America knows that a $7.25 minimum wage is a starvation wage. We have got to raise the minimum wage. Right now, Ed, people who are working as quote-unquote supervisors are working 60 hours a week and making $25,000 a year, not getting any overtime. Clearly, we have got to change that as well. And clearly, we need to rebuild a crumbling infrastructure. And we need to get rid of, and I know Chris has worked hard on this, some of these outrageous loopholes that enable enormously profitable corporations to pay nothing taxes.
If the Congress does not work with this president, what's the economic outlook? Right now, America has one of the better economies that's out there in the globe right now. And the president is now siding with the Republicans on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and there are some Democrats who are for it as well. Congressman, how is the president going to make the case for the middle class and then turn around and support a trade deal that many people who oppose it say it's definitely going to depress wages and it's going to gut American jobs. That's a tough balancing act.
And I want to get to that, but let me just start with your first point, which is our economy compared to what our European partners' economies look like right now. Because Republicans wanted to practice the austerity approach that they took in Europe, right? And we see where that got Europe. We have a much stronger economy. Now, look, the president's going to have to make the case for how a trade agreement can, in fact, help American workers. And I hope every member of Congress, when they look at any agreement, they should look at it with two standards in mind. How is it going to help the American worker? How is it going to help the American economy? If it can't meet those tests, then we shouldn't support it. There's another big piece to it, which is the issue of currency manipulation, which, as I understand right now, is not really a part of this discussion, but is something that really has put American workers back on their heels, because other countries are allowed to change their currency in a way that makes it harder for us to export.
Can the Democrats stop this trade deal? And there are some Republicans who are against it as well. The Tea Partiers are concerned about the sovereignty issue, about who is going to be making some rules if there are any irregularities, legalities that are going to be challenged. It's not going to be done by American lawmakers.
Yeah.
So can it be stopped?
Look, I think, Ed, that people are going to see what the president's going to present, and then people are going to decide exactly how to move forward. But I couldn't agree with you more. The focus of tonight's speech, and I don't know how much the president's going to talk about trade tonight. I hope the focus of his speech tonight on the things that we are talking about here, helping the middle class, making sure we have a tax system that doesn't help people who make money off of money more than it helps people who make money off of hard work. And that's going to be a core part of
Senator,
this.
you agree with what the president's trying to do on his tax plan?
I think it's a great step forward. We would maybe take it a little bit differently. But basically what he is saying, when the richest people are getting richer, you know what? They're going to have to start paying their fair share of taxes and help the middle class. In terms of trade, I respectfully disagree with the president. I think NAFTA, CAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China have been a disaster, loss of jobs, race to the bottom. I don't think we should go forward with TPP.
45% of the American people now say the economy is in pretty good shape. That's the best number in a decade. I kind of feel like the president has the wind at his back tonight. He will speak with more credibility on the economy than the obstructors that he's going to be facing. But here's what I think liberals want out of the president tonight. They want the president to remind the Republicans that they haven't had a hand in this. Congressman, is it asking too much to be that direct?
I think the president will talk about all the good news. I'm not sure he will say what you're asking tonight. So let's tell them right now. Not a single Republican in the House, not one, voted for the economic recovery bill. Not one voted for Wall Street reform, meaning they were perfectly happy to leave it where taxpayers were on the hook for the gambling on Wall Street. Okay. That was the Republican record. I hope the president, somehow says it tonight. I'm not sure he will.
Congressman Chris Van Hollen, Senator Bernie Sanders. Gentlemen, thanks so much for your time tonight. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen. Share your thoughts with us on Twitter at Ed Schultz and on Facebook. We want to know what